All right, we have some breaking news at this moment. A woman is believed to be among the attackers who targeted the Batalcan theatre. Media reports quoting French police claim that the woman attacker was behind the mass killings in the theatre. French police sources have said that at least 100 people were killed at the Batalcan theatre in Paris. Earlier on Friday evening, terrorists took an unknown number of hostages at the theatre as part of what happened to be a series of coordinated attacks in the city. The French police stormed the theatre shortly after killing 2 hostage takers. That's the latest that we are getting at this moment as investigation is presently underway. Now we are hearing that there could be a woman attacker behind the Batalcan strike. We have got Smita Sharma joining us with all the latest. Smita, can you give us more details on what you are hearing in terms of investigation?
Well, in terms of investigations, they are happening at the moment, Sanket, but there are too many sketchy details, not too many clear details coming out. Unofficially, what has been told is in one of the bombers, in fact, bodies, a Syrian passport was found. Also, this other flash that we have been putting out in India today, that one of the bombers is supposedly woman, because we have to understand that there are 6 terror targets that we are looking at, 6 places which were rocked by explosions last evening. So, which also included, in fact, suicide bombing. A lot of information trickling in at the moment, and a lot of them can also be misinformation through social media. But there is generally that tone of precaution at the moment. What we are also learning is there was another, in fact, French-born plane that had actually taken off from Netherlands, but it had to be evacuated following some calls citing that there could have been a bomb on board. So while there is that sense of uneasy calm today, even as Paris is trying to limp back to normalcy, around me, I am outside the stadium where that match was ongoing yesterday, Sanket, where President Hollande was actually, watching the match. People are just streaming into the stadium today out of a sense of curiosity because the premises have been barricaded. Their police have put out, they're not allowing people to get inside the stadium. Also, iconic monuments like the Eiffel Tower, they have been in fact shut down for the public today. So they are being very, very careful in what they put out and how they're putting out, because socially the fabric here is very fragile. Remember, in France, the estimated number of people, the Europeans, in fact, who have actually joined the ISIS, expect that some 525, out of which some 250 are believed to have actually returned to Syria. My apologies, returned to France itself. So these are the kind of numbers and equations that we're talking about, which is why the police is being very careful here.
Okay. Do stay on with us, Smita, at this moment. There's some more breaking news coming in. The toll in the devastating coordinated terror strikes in Paris could dramatically escalate. The toll right now is 127, but it may rise. As many as 80 victims with serious injuries are said to be in a critical condition. Over 300 people have been hospitalized after the coordinated serial strikes. That's the latest that we are hearing. This figure, if these estimates are to be believed, could even cross 200. That's the latest that we are hearing at this moment. Smita, is there more information about those critically injured? Because we were speaking to a couple of people from Paris, and they did mention that there are many, apart from those who are dead, there are many who are in a very critical condition.
Absolutely. These were initial numbers that were given out yesterday, and from 24 to 36 hours after blast is when a scene naturally emerges in with much more clarity, Sanket. We saw that during the Mumbai attacks as well, the Paris attacks. People have been calling it France's 9/11. Some have been calling it France's 26/11 attacks, really. So, while around 300 to 400 people were injured, around 80 to 100 are believed to be seriously injured, while their nationalities also have not been ascertained, though I did speak, of course, to our ambassador, the Indian ambassador to Paris, Ambassador Mohan Kumar, and he says that so far at least no Indian casualty has been reported. But, the nature of these explosions, if you were to look at from pizzerias to cafeterias to stadiums, all of these were actually soft installations, except for maybe the stadium, where security was higher because the president himself was watching a match. The other places were all crowded places where people were just out for a regular Friday drink, and that's when these explosions actually shook this capital of France.
All right, Smita Sharma, we have some more breaking news at this moment. A France-bound plane has been evacuated at the Schiphol airport in Amsterdam after threats. Air France, remember there are a lot of these news stories coming in where earlier the Gatwick airport in London also was partially shut down. Now the latest that we are hearing is that a France-bound plane has been evacuated at the airport in Amsterdam after threats. Now, Air France plane was grounded after a Twitter bomb threat. A tweet from an account under the name Jihadi John 8 said people should forget Russia and wait for what will happen on the Air France flight due to take off at 2:45 p.m. UK time. All passengers have been taken off the plane, which was set to fly to Paris while it is being searched for a bomb. The account earlier threatened that Amsterdam Airport and Brussels Airport in Belgium were the next places to be targeted. So that's the latest we are hearing. There is a lot of, these are times when there is a lot of rumor mongering as well. The authorities have to deal with that as well. Remember earlier in the day there was information that there was an unidentified baggage at the Gatwick airport in London, which caused a bit of a scare. The airport was partially shut, and now the latest that we are hearing, and this is a more serious threat, where a Twitter handle by the name of Jihadi John 8 has tweeted about what could possibly happen on a flight which was supposed to reach Paris. Now, as a precautionary measure, an immediate step that has been taken is that this flight has been completely evacuated. The plane has been evacuated at the Amsterdam airport after this threat. The Air France plane was grounded after a Twitter bomb threat. Now, as we mentioned, a tweet from an account under the name Jihadi John 8 had said, and let's quickly quote this particular statement. It said, "Forget Russia and wait for what will happen on the flight Air France due to take off at 2:45 p.m. UK time." We're cutting across live now to these pictures from Paris, where a lot of people have gathered outside the place where the maximum number of deaths took place at that theatre, the Batalcan Hall, where close to 100 people lost their lives. Let's listen in to this live news feed coming in. Okay, we've got Smita Sharma once again with us. Smita, these are pictures that we are showing on air right now of people paying floral tributes. They're lighting candles in loving memory of all those who are no more with them. This is right outside the Batalcan Hall.
Yes, Sanket, and in fact, I am outside the Stade de France. Now, this is the stadium where that match was happening, the friendly match between France and Germany last evening. And, here also, while the press, the other people are not being allowed to go inside the stadium premises, there have been barricades that have been put up. But we did see actually a couple of people just trickle in, pay some floral tributes, leave wreaths of flower around these gates, because Gate D and Gate H are essentially the two gates outside which these explosions were heard. As far as the explosions here in this stadium is concerned, some 5 lives lost there. This is also the stadium where in 1998 the World Cup final was hosted in a big glitzy sort of a way, and French President Francois Hollande, who was later on evacuated after the first half of the match, following we saw those visuals actually come out where that loud noise, that loud blast in a way rocks the stadium. Let me try and maybe get a sense. Excuse me, do you understand English?
Non, français.
Français.
Ouais.
Do you speak English?
No.
Okay. Hi, do you understand English? Okay, so language is a slight problem. I thought I'll try and get in some reactions maybe from people who stay close by. But if I may just try and show you, because we are Skyping it through, of course, our gadgets out here. This is the kind of security that you see just right outside the stadium. But, excuse me. Can you speak some English?
Yes.
Can you tell us where? Okay, security officials do not want to come on camera, Sanket, but this is really the place where people were just coming in for a Friday night of fun. When you talk of Europe, obviously soccer is a game that rules hearts and minds, but that sort of changed here inside the stadium. But people being very, very safe and cautious about the developments through the day, even though a lot of the iconic monuments like the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre Museum have not been open to public, in fact, today.
All right, Smita, do stay on with us. Now, there are a number of breaking news stories that we are actually getting here. In the meanwhile, you can see those numbers flashing. If there are any Indians who want to reach out to the Indian Embassy, they can call on those numbers. And the Indian Embassy has assured, just a short while back, we even spoke to the Deputy Envoy, and he said that he'll be more than happy to assist Indians. However, so far, there is no report of any casualty or any injury to any Indian in these attacks. Let's go across to Smita once again. Smita, you were showing us around that stadium where this attack actually happened, and it's quite a strange event or turn of events, and we'll also put a package together for our viewers to actually see this presentation. Just tell us a little bit more about how this incident happened last night, how the match was being played, so many people there, even France's president was there.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, thank you so much. There's a little kid who's actually pointing out and saying that my earpiece been left, it's just hanging out. So, but Sanket, yes, the French president was there because this was a friendly international match between France and Germany. The game was into actually the closer to the first innings, and that's when, if you see those videos also that emerged later on, while the players were on the field, there is that huge sort of a blast and an explosion that they feel, but they could not figure out as to what really happened. So they continued with their game. Eventually, when news started trickling in that this was actually because of explosions that had happened in the vicinity, that's when, in fact, Francois Hollande was evacuated. But, the game actually ended. The game went off to its finish point as well. But for now, in fact, a lot of these matches, the games, they have been suspended. Let me try and get in a word from Lavina, our colleague here. She was at Batalcan, where, of course, the hostage crisis played out, Sanket. Lavina, give us a sense of, outside where the 100 hostages taken in. What did you see when you went in today?
Lots and lots of media, much more than what we see here in the stadium. World media, lots of security, and 3 to 4 police vans still collecting evidence, collecting forensic. But we did get to know that the bodies have been taken out. 82 casualties were there, and I also saw quite a heartwarming thing. Lots of tributes coming there, flowers and candles and letters being left. And one of the letters said, "Words can't describe what the people went through yesterday." So this has really touched the core of French people, not only French, actually entire Europe.
Absolutely. Sanket, we even saw during those Charlie Hebdo attacks, remember last year, where the kind of, France, which stands for all these values of equality, of liberty, and takes them absolutely, seriously. We saw that outpouring of crowds coming to the streets in solidarity and in that spirit of saying that we are not going to cow down just because somebody attempts to try and weaken our spirits through these, in fact, terror plots or these bomb attacks. And somehow I think that is the beautiful thing about the human spirit, be it the Mumbai attacks to the London tube attacks. Every time we've seen people much more resilient through these attacks. But clearly, this is the menace of the day. This is the menace of the time, and something that all leaders will be addressing, in fact, at the G20 summit in Turkey. To also remember, Paris is going to be hosting that COP21 climate change summit this month end. So we will see much more
absolutely
talks
absolutely
on
in fact, the point that you are mentioning, Smita, let's break that story on the screen right now, and then we'll come back to you. The UN climate conference will go ahead as scheduled in Paris despite the terror attacks. France has made this very clear in a show of complete resilience that they want to fight terror. They do not want to cancel this international conference. There were a bit of doubts whether France will go ahead with this COP21 or the climate change conference that it was supposed to host, where a number of foreign dignitaries and heads of state were supposed to come in. Now it is clear that France has said that this terror attack does not mean that that conference will be cancelled. Smita, you were giving us more information on this point. Please go ahead.
Absolutely, that climate change conference that is scheduled for the end of this month, 29 to 13, when the international countries under that UN Convention of Climate Change Resolution will be, of course, adopting, that agreement, that treaty of sorts as to how they can go about with making the world a better place. But clearly, when you talk of climate change, it's also about terrorism now, which will be the center stage. And Mr. Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister himself, will also be coming in for that event, which will be attended even by the Pakistani counterpart. Let me try and get a word. Ma'am, do you understand English? Just one word. What is your message after yesterday's attacks? Okay, there are people here, language, clearly we will try and find somebody who can speak the language. Sorry? Okay. But, Sanket, I think people are still coming out, as you can see, they're just cycling along the streets. It's not like life has come to a stop in Paris here. I can see young kids, in fact, coming out for a jog or just to go out and exercise. There are media persons around here. And, there are media crews that have actually come in from across the world because their eyes are here on Paris. But even all the world leaders, we saw Barack Obama also come out at White House and come out with those strong statements. So these world leaders will make sure. David Cameron has said that he will be, of course, focusing on terror in an upcoming summit meeting. So we will see these leaders emerge here in Paris to make sure that the climate change conference goes forward despite these terror attacks that have so far claimed at least 128 lives.
Absolutely. We are revisiting the story where a France-bound plane has been evacuated at the Amsterdam airport after threats. We are getting some pictures as well now of that evacuation exercise in progress, which we'll be putting out on the screen any minute now. Air France plane has been grounded after a Twitter bomb threat. A tweet from an account under the name @Jihadi John 8 had said that people should forget Russia and wait for what will happen on the Air France flight due to take off at 2:45 UK time. These are the pictures that we are playing at this moment of passengers taken out of that flight. An evacuation process has been carried out. A thorough check will be carried out, and then after that, the flight will be allowed to take off. That's the latest that we are hearing at this moment. Let's stop for a short break. News and updates will continue on the other side.